everybody, my name is Maria and welcome back to my channel. So in my previous video, I showed you guys where we found our master's program online before coming here, which was through the DAAD website, so the German Academic Exchange Service. But today I thought that I would show you guys how we took this information afterwards. So all of this information on different universities, master's programs, options, and how we got ourselves organized to actually make a selection at the end. So being organized is super important during this whole process of preparing yourself to study in Germany or to even search for master's programs online, because you're going to have so many amounts of information, deadlines, documents that you need, requirements. So it's really important that also for your personal sanity to really keep yourself organized and not miss any deadline, not have any requirement that you later are going to find out that if you would have had before, you could have applied to more programs. So you can avoid yourself this type of problems later down the line. So today I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the way that I use to organize all of this information and keep myself on track. So in my case, it was a combination of Google Drive, Google Calendar, and Evernote. So I'm not saying that it's the best method out there to organize yourself. You can of course adapt it to your needs and your preferences, but I thought that I would share it and maybe you guys would find it helpful at some point. So we're on my laptop right now and I thought that I would show you firsthand how I organized it directly here on my screen. So if you saw in my previous video, I showed you guys the DAAD website, which is basically the database where you have access to all of the information on every single master's program available in Germany at that time. So what I did at the moment is actually use my Evernote account. So at the moment, I don't use Evernote anymore. I use Notion, which I found to be a more robust organizational system. So I'm not sure if my account is open still, but at that time I did remember that I saved all of this information, did a copy paste on Microsoft Word, so I can show you guys just the list that I had at that time. So this is what my Evernote file looked like at the moment. Again, this is just a copy paste from Evernote to Microsoft Word because I didn't want to lose this information and keep it, as a memento or to look back at any point in time. So as you can see, I just used it as a quick copy paste for any info that I found online and any sort of information that I needed to have on hand. So actually here I had saved all of the passwords and all of the usernames from all of the online websites to application systems. So for example, we also applied to universities in England and to other scholarship programs. So I've blended out here the actual passwords that we used. But that's another thing. You're going to have loads of usernames and passwords that you're going to have to set on several websites at the same time. So pretty useful to have it on hand. So here you can see, all of the passwords and usernames that we set on the time. But then here below, what I did is that, so I was applying at the same time as my husband. So it was really important that we found an opportunity at the same city or in the same region at least. So what I did is that I organized this list per opportunity and tried to organize per city or per region so that we could at least guarantee that the both of us would have an opportunity in the same city and wouldn't have to pay double rent in two separate cities. So here you can see, at that time we were also applying to Erasmus Mundus opportunities and then put here the option that we would have for me or for him. And so if you scroll down here to the universities in Germany, so the Germany options, for example, we had Erlangen. So this was a university that we had the possibility to apply to, the program that he was willing to apply to, so communications and multimedia engineering, and the program that I wanted to apply to as well. And basically quickly noted down which information I needed for that city. And this again with other cities as well. So then here, for example, Aachen, which is a university that we actually ended up studying in, I noted down the option for him and the options for me as well. And this with other cities as well. So Darmstadt and Frankfurt, Ulm, Cologne, Munich, basically noted down very quickly this information onto my Evernote directly. So then after having this quick summary of information, what I did is that I took this and I organized it a little more systematically into an Excel file. So you're probably going to look at this and say, Maria, that's probably way too detailed and too much work and really not needed at all. It's probably true. I think the engineering me maybe probably wanted me to organize this as systematically as I could, and I wanted to have the most control possible on all of the information that I had on hand. And it worked for me at the end. So I guess that's the important thing, that it actually works for you and it helps you get yourself organized and feel good about the whole process. So as you can see in the Excel, I have several columns that I used. So the first one being the person, so yeah, either me or my husband that was applying, the status of the application, then the university and the university program as well, the documents that were needed to be able to apply to that program, the deadline, and then additional notes or links to the application. So as you can see, each program requirement is actually repeated in several lines. So I did this because I wanted to standardize as much as possible and be able to list how many types of documents I would need for all of the applications at the same time. So let me explain a bit more. So for example, in this document, the certified copy of bachelor's degree certificate, I know that I was gonna need it for the FAU Erlangen-Nuremberg University, but also for other universities as well. So for example, the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences. What I wanted to do is list all of the possibilities and then be able to filter here per document type and see how many certified copies of that bachelor's degree certificate I would need as a whole for all of my applications. So then later I would be able to filter per document type and know that I would need, for example, 10 certified copies in order to apply to all of those universities. So I did this for all of the university options that I found online. So from the DAD website, as well as any other website that I found. As you can see, it was a lot of information. But what's pretty helpful about having this all summarized in one table is that afterwards I did actually a pivot table, and then I counted how many of each type of document I would need in total for all of the applications. So you can see here, this was a summary for myself, for my documents. After doing this pivot table, I counted how many, I counted the deadline column, which was this one here, and then filtered by the label of the document required. So in the end, I knew that I needed, for example, 14 copies of translation of university certificates for absolutely all of the master's programs that I was applying to, or that I would need 15 letters of motivation for all of the programs. So this just allowed me to know the amount of work that I had to do, and especially be able to know that when I spoke with a legalized translator or a lawyer that was making the certified copies or the legalizations, I knew how many certificates or how many copies I would have to pay for and would need at the moment. And it's also pretty helpful because you're going to be able to prioritize which documents you're going to need more urgently than others. So for example, you can see in the table that actually only one university of my interest was actually asking for GMAT scores. So in the end, I was thinking, based on all the work that I have to put into preparing myself for the GMAT, all that I have to study, also the cost involved, is it really worth it for only one university program amongst all of the ones that I'm going to apply to? So in the end, I ended up deciding not to take the GMAT and rather focus on other programs that ask for other requirements, such as the GRE score, which I did end up taking, and rather, not prioritizing the GMAT at all. So that was the monster Excel file that I used to organize all the requirements that I had per university, as well as all the deadlines. But now the third part of my little organizational system was actually Google Drive. So Google Drive is my absolute go-to storage for anything and everything that I have saved. All of my documents, all of my pictures are uploaded here, and I've been using it even since my bachelor's studies, or even earlier than that. So of course, I also used it in this process of applying to master's programs abroad. However, I would recommend that you use not the online version, but actually the desktop version, and download it to your computer. So what I did is that in this process of applying to master's program, I created a folder where I stored absolutely every information that I had when applying to study programs or any sort of information that I found. So as you can see here, first of all, I had sort of a general folder with various documents that I needed in general for all of the applications, for me as well as for my husband. So here, for example, for myself, I stored any sort of certificates that I had, both academic and work, my CV and all of the versions that I had of that CV, my GPA scores, so my GPA letter in PDF format. That's an important thing, everything in PDF, as well as the original Word documents, and in case that you wanted to modify that. So here in my CV, I had both versions as well, in Word and in PDF. Also my GRE test results, high school degrees, so my official high school certificate, high school transcripts, language certificates, passport information, photos in JPG format, recommendation letters, as well as versions of my university degrees and university transcripts. So basically everything that I needed in general for practically all applications, I saved a version here. So then what I did is that for each of these universities that were listed in this Excel file, I created a separate folder in this Google Drive folder. So in our example here, we have the FAU Erlangen-Nuremberg. For me, as well as for my husband, any sort of information that I had on that university, as well as every document that I needed for the application to that program. So every time we had a new application for a new university or a new university program, I basically created this folder and did a copy of all of the documents that we needed for that particular application. And this definitely helps afterwards at the moment that you're actually applying online, so you can quickly find any sort of document or any requirement that you need for that application. It does take up some storage on your Google Drive, making a copy of each document, but I found that it was much better and safer to just make copies of each individual document, since you're going to need to adapt them to each university program. So for example, letter of motivation you're going to have for each program, or even some standard documents such as transcript of records. You might have some universities that are required to upload an original version, and other universities that you need as well the translation in a different file format, for example. So I just found better to actually upload each specific document form for each specific university in this Google Drive file. So now the final part of this organizational system is Google Calendar. So Google Calendar is as well one of those tools that I have always used even since I was in university, just because it's really intuitive to use and it synchronizes across all of your devices and is totally free as well and does everything that you need it to. So I unfortunately deleted the Google Calendar that I had when I was applying to university programs, but I can show you what I did. So here on the left, you can see that you can actually specify different calendars depending on which information you want to put in it. So here you can see, for example, that I have for reminders, for gym scheduling, for Todoist as well. I can talk about that in another video, but I actually synchronize Todoist to my Google Calendar so that I have all the information across both platforms on there. But what you can do is actually go to other calendars and then click here on create new calendar. And what I did at the time is create a specific Google Calendar only for the university applications. So I think I called it University Deadlines, something like this, and then I just created the calendar. And then you can either blend or unblend the calendar if you want to display it on your Google Calendar, and it creates the calendar with a specific color as well, so you can know by color coding that all of these events will be referred to only the university deadlines. So what I did is that under this calendar I inserted all of the university deadlines that I saw on my Excel file here. So again, super important to really have a good overview of all of the deadlines that you have for university, and you can see it sort of in a monthly view or as well in a week view, so you know what deadlines are coming up for that specific week and how to plan yourself and your time. I found that a combination of these four systems worked best for me. So Google Drive on the desktop version for storage of absolutely every document and information that you need. Then the Excel document, this monster Excel, for a summary of how you stand with your applications and which requirements that you need in total for all of the applications. So the Evernote file for the initial quick capturing of information and any other sort of small information or details that you need. It's super good to get a good initial overview of where you stand and in general which cities or which regions you want to apply to, and sort of organize it in the best way that you want. And finally, your Google Calendar to just keep a daily track of where you stand on the deadlines and to manage your time the best way that you can. So there you go, guys. Those are the tools and the methods that I used to organize myself when I was applying to master's programs before coming to Germany. And I hope that it was helpful for you or can motivate you into also getting yourself organized organized to this whole application process journey. Again, super important to keep yourself organized during this process of applying to universities. Don't forget that the higher number of applications that you send, the more chances you have of actually getting admitted to the master's programs that you want to. So in order to handle this high number of applications that you're going to have and this sort of mini processes of applying to each and every university program, organization is key. And it's really one of the most important factors in this whole application process. So another great thing of having this mini system of organization for yourself is that you're going to get used to it and actually apply it for afterwards when you actually start studying your master's. So getting used to using a calendar on a daily basis and using an online storage system is going to be super helpful afterwards when you have to prepare for exams, organize study material, and this sort of things. Especially afterwards, if you do decide to come to Germany. Here, what I've seen is that the use of a calendar is super important in daily life, both in personal things and as well as in academic or professional aspects. Everybody is very used to using a calendar and planning their commitments and their dates very in detail, even months or weeks in advance. Another plus of having all of your documents and information organized is that in daily life, you're going to see that during your studies or even when you start working, you're going to have to refer to certain documents very often. So all of your personal documentation, your transcripts, your university degrees, even if you start uploading your receipts and really keeping all of your administrative documents in order, it's going to be super helpful afterwards to have this information on hand and really systematically organized. So there you go, guys. That was my video of sort of personal organization while applying to master's programs in Germany. If you liked the video, don't forget to give a like, subscribe if you want me to continue to giving you more information related to this, and super helpful, leave a comment down below with any sort of question or inquiry or comment that you may have, or any other subjects that you want me to cover in further videos. So I'm more than happy to answer. So wish you all the best and have a nice day.